Assalamu alaikum students. This is your teacher Muhammad Umar Khatak for the subject Project Management. This is our 23rd lecture and chapter number 6. And today our discussion is on systems engineering, action plan, work breakdown structure, and linear responsibility chart. Systems integration. Systems integrations, sometimes called systems engineering or concurrent engineering, is one part of integration management and plays a crucial role in performance aspect of the project. We are using this phrase to include any technical specialist in science or art of the project who is capable of integrating the technical disciplines to achieve the customer's objective or integrating the project into the customer's system. As such, system integration is concerned with three major objectives. Performance. Performance is what a system does. It includes system design, reliability, quality, maintainability, and repairability. Obviously, these are not separate, independent elements of the system, but are highly interrelated qualities. One of these system performance characteristics are subject to over-design as well as under-design, but must fall within the design parameters established by the client. If the client approves, we may give the client more than the specification requires simply because we have already designed for some capability. And giving the client an over-designed system is faster and less expensive than delivering precisely to specification. At times, the aesthetic qualities of a system may be specified, typically through a requirement that the appearance of the system must be acceptable to the client. Effectiveness. The objective is to design the individual components of a system to achieve the desired performance. This is accomplished through the following guidelines. Require no component performance specification unless necessary to meet one or more system requirements. Every component requirement should be traceable to one or more system requirements. Design components for effective system performance, not the performance of the subsystem. It is not unusual for clients or project teams to violate any or all of these seemingly logical dicta. Tolerances specified to far closer limits than any possible system requirements. Superfluous, bells and whistles, and off the shelf components that do not work well with the rest of the system are so common they seem to be taken for granted by both client and the vendor. Cost. System integration considers cost to be design parameter, and cost can be accumulated in several areas. Added design cost may lead to decreased component cost, leaving performance and effectiveness otherwise unchanged. Added design cost may yield decreased production costs, and production cost may be traded off against unit cost for materials. Value engineering or value analysis examines all these trade offs and is an important aspect of systems integration. It can be used in any project where the relevant cost trade offs can be estimated. It is simply the consistent and thorough use of cost effectiveness analysis. Multifunctional teaming is a way of achieving systems integration and, as such, may play a major role in the success or failure of any complex project. If a risky approach is taken by systems integration, it may delay the project. If the approach is too conservative, we forego opportunities for enhanced project capabilities or advantageous project economies. A good design will take all these trade offs into account in the initial stages of the technical approach. A good design will avoid locking the project into a rigid solution with little flexibility or adaptability in case problems occur later on, changes in the environment demand, changes in the project performance or effectiveness. Multifunctional teams are also valuable for assessing and mitigating risk in the project, particularly in anticipating crises during the execution of the project. The details of system integration are beyond the scope of this lecture. The interested listener is referred to Blechart's 2006 case review. In any case, the ability to do systems integration engineering depends on at least a minimal level of technical knowledge about most parts of the project. It is one of the reasons project managers are expected to have some understanding of the technology of the projects they head. The action plan. We move into consideration of the details of the project. We need to know exactly what is to be done, by whom, and when. All activities required to complete the project must be precisely delineated and coordinated. The necessary resources must be available when and where they are needed and in the correct amounts. Some activities must be done sequentially, but some may be done simultaneously. If a large project is to come in on time and within cost, a great many things must happen when and how they're supposed to happen. Yet each of these details is uncertain and thus each must be subjected to risk management. In this lecture, we propose a conceptually simple method to assist in sorting out and planning all this detail. It is a hierarchical planning system, a method of constructing an action plan and WBS, work breakdown structure. We have also named it level playing process. To accomplish any specific project, a number of major activities must be undertaken and completed. Make a list of these activities in the general order in which they would occur. This is level 1. A reasonable number of activities at this level might be anywhere between 2 and 20. There is nothing sacred about these limits. 2 is the minimum possible breakdown, and 20 is about the largest number of interrelated items that can be comfortably sorted and scheduled at a given level of aggregation. Now break each of these level 1 items into 2 to 20 tasks. This is level 2. In the same way, break each level 2 task into 2 to 20 subtasks. This is level 3. Proceed in this way until the detailed tasks at a level are so well understood that there is no reason to continue with the work breakdown. It is important to be sure that all items in the list are roughly the same level of task generality. In writing a book, for example, the various chapters tend to be at the same level of generality. The individual chapters are divided into finer details. Indeed, subdivisions of the chapter may be divided into finer details still. It is difficult to overstate the significance of this simple dictum. It is central to the preparation of most of the planning documents that will be described in this chapter and those that follow. The logic behind this simple rule is persuasive. We have observed both students and professionals in the process of planning. We noted that people who lack experience in planning tend to write down what they perceive to be first activity in a sequence of activities. Begin to break it down into components. Take the first of these, break it further, until they have reached a level of detail they feel is sufficient. They then take the second step and proceed similarly. If they have a good understanding of a basic activity, the breakdown into detail is handled well. If they are not an expert, the breakdown lacks detail and tends to be inadequate. Further, we note that integration of the various basic activities was generally poor. An artist of our acquaintance explained, when creating a drawing, the artist sketches in the main lines of a scene and then builds up the detail little by little over the entire drawing. In this way, a drawing has a unity. One cannot achieve this unity by drawing one part of the scene in high detail and then moving to another part of the scene and detailing it. He asked a young student to make a pen and ink sketch of a fellow student. Her progress at the 3 stages of the drawing. The project manager will probably generate the most basic level 1, and possibly the next level as well. Unless the project is quite simple or small, the generation of additional levels will be delegated to the individuals or groups who have responsibility for doing the work. Maintaining the level planning discipline will help keep the plan focused on the project deliverables rather than on the work at the subsystem level. The appearance of an action plan will probably differ in different organizations and may even differ between departments or divisions of the same organization. Though standardization of format is usual and probably desirable in any given firm. In some plans, numbers are used to identify activities, in others, letters, in still others, combinations of letters and numbers are used. We will illustrate several different forms of action plans drawn from real life. Our purpose is not to confuse the reader but to focus the reader's attention on the content of the plan, not its form. An action plan can also be represented by a simplified hierarchy, like the tree diagram, though this is more akin to the work breakdown structure. Professor Andrew Visosoni has called this type of diagram Gozinto chart after the famous Italian mathematician Professor Zeparza Gozinto. Readers familiar with the bill of materials in a materials requirement planning (MRP) system will recognize the parallel to nested hierarchical planning or the basic organizational chart depicting the formal structure of an organization. Work breakdown structure. As was the case with project action plans and contrary to popular notion, the work breakdown structure is not one thing. It can take a wide variety of forms that in turn serve a wide variety of purposes. The work breakdown structure often appears as an outline with the level 1 tasks on the left and successive level appropriately intended. The WBS may also picture a project subdivided into hierarchical units of tasks, subtasks, work packages, and work units. As a type of Gozinto chart or tree constructed directly from the project action plan. Some writers recommend using the WBS as the fundamental tool for planning. We find nothing logically wrong with this approach, but it seems overly structured when compared to the way the firms noted for high quality planning actually proceed. If this approach is used, the project manager is well advised to adopt the general philosophy of building the work breakdown structure that was used when building the action plan. Other writers may pay scant attention to the WBS work breakdown structure, giving the subject little more than a mention. We do not find this a fatal error as long as the planning activity is otherwise carried out to an appropriate level of detail. In general, the WBS is an important document and can be tailored for use in a number of different ways. It may illustrate how each piece of the project contributes to the whole terms of performance, responsibility, budget, and schedule. It may, if the project manager wishes, list the vendors or subcontractors associated with specific tasks. It may be used to document that all parties have signed off on their various commitments to the project. It may note detailed specification for any work package, establish account numbers, specify hardware, software to be used, and identify resource needs. It may serve as the basis for making cost estimates or estimates of task duration. Its uses are limited only by the needs of the project and the imagination of the project manager. No one version of WBS will suit all needs, so the WBS is not a document, but any given WBS is simply one of many possible documents. Linear responsibility chart and WBS. On occasion, it may be useful to create an organizational breakdown structure (OBS) that displays the organization units responsible for each of the various task elements in work breakdown structure, or must approve or be notified of progress or changes in its scope, since the WBS and OBS may well not be identical. That is, some major sections of the WBS may be responsibility of the two or more departments, while other sections of the WBS two or more, say may be the responsibility of just one department. Such a document can be useful for department managers to see their total responsibility for a particular project. The OBS is similar to the linear responsibility chart. The following general steps explain the procedure for designing and using the WBS. For small or moderate sized projects, and depending on the use for which the WBS is designed, some of the following steps might be skipped, combined, extended, and handled less formally than our explanation indicates, particularly if the project is of type familiar to the organization. Using information from the action plan, list the task breakdown in successfully finer levels of detail. Continue until all meaningful tasks or work packages have been identified and each task or package can be individually planned, budgeted, scheduled, monitored, and controlled. It should be obvious that if the set of work package descriptions is not complete and properly arranged, it is highly unlikely the project can be completed on time, on budget, and to specifications. For each such work package, identify the data relevant to the WBS. For example, vendors, duration, equipment, materials, special specification. List the personnel and organizations responsible for each task. It is helpful to construct a linear responsibility chart, sometimes called a responsibility matrix, to show who is responsible for what. This chart also shows a critical interfaces between units that may require special managerial coordination. All work package information should be reviewed with the individuals or organizations who have responsibility for doing or supporting the work in order to verify the WBS accuracy. Resource requirements, schedules, and subtask relationships can now be aggregated to form the next level of the WBS, continuing on each succeeding level of the hierarchy. At the uppermost level, we have a summary of the project, its budget, and an estimate of the duration of each work element. For the purpose of pricing a proposal or determining profit and loss, the total project budget should consist of four elements. Direct budget from each task or just described, an indirect cost budget for the project, which includes general and administrative overheads, G&A, marketing cost, potential penalty charges, and other expenses that do not attribute to a particular task. A project contingency reserve for unexpected emergencies, any residual which includes the profit derived from the project, which may on occasion be intentionally negative. Similarly, schedule information and milestone significant events can be aggregated into a project baseline schedule. The projected baseline schedule integrates the many different schedules relevant to the various parts of the project. It is comprehensive and may include contractual commitments, key interfaces and sequences, milestone events, and progress reports. In addition, a time contingency reserve for unforeseeable delays might be included. As the project is carried out step by step, the project manager can continually examine actual resource use by work elements, work package, task, and so on up to the full project level. By comparing actual against planned resource usage at a given time, the project manager can identify problems, harden the estimates of final cost, and make sure that relevant corrective actions have been designed and are ready to be implemented if needed. Finally, the project schedule may be subjected to the same comparisons as the project budget. Actual progress is compared to scheduled progress by work elements, work packages, task, and complete project to identify problems and take corrective actions. Additional resources may be brought to those tasks behind schedule to expedite them. These added funds may come out of the budget reserve or from other tasks that are ahead of the schedule. This is the end of the lecture. Thank you.